Who's actually going to get the most out of a laptop that costs as much as a high-end desktop, and who would be better off spending that money on a separate monitor and a more modest machine? If you're trying to decide whether the Razer Blade 18 is worth the price tag for everyday gaming and work, you're probably already worrying about the risk of overpaying for a flashy spec sheet that looks great on paper but falls short in the real world. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of setup most people end up with when they buy a big-screen gaming laptop. You're either plugging it into a single desk with a power brick that's already a handful of pounds, or you're using it as a portable workstation that you carry between a coffee shop, a dorm room, and a couch. The Blade 18 tries to be both, and that dual ambition is where the trade-offs become obvious. If you're a competitive gamer who lives for high refresh, low-latency action, the 18-inch dual-mode display is the first thing you'll notice. The option to flip between a Fork Plus UHD panel at 240 Hz and a Full HD Plus panel at 440 Hz means you can choose raw pixel density for cinematic titles or ultra-fast refresh for shooters. In practice, I've seen this work best when you reserve the 4K mode for single-player story games or creative work where you need that extra detail, and you switch to the 440 Hz panel for fast-paced multiplayer. The transition is quick, but you do have to recalibrate your eye tracking and mouse DPI each time, which can be a minor annoyance during a marathon session. Now, performance. The laptop ships with the new RTX 5090 GPU and a Core Ultra 9290HX CPU, which together push desktop-level frame rates in titles like Cyberpunk 2077, Starfield, and the latest AI-enhanced workloads. In my testing, the machine sustained 8090 frames per second on ultra settings in Cyberpunk at 4K, and when I dropped to the 1080p 440 Hz mode, I was consistently topping 150 frames per second. That's the kind of raw horsepower you need if you plan to stream at 4K while gaming, because the GPU can handle the encode workload without choking. The downside is heat. Even with Razer's vapor chamber cooling, the chassis gets noticeably warm under sustained load, and the fans spin up to a level that can be distracting in a quiet room. The cooling system does keep the laptop from throttling, but you'll have to accept a constant low-level whine if you're using it for long editing sessions. Memory and storage are another practical point. 64GB of DDR5 RAM is overkill for most games, but it becomes a real benefit if you're juggling multiple VMs, running AI inference, or doing heavy video rendering while a game sits idle in the background. The 2TB NVMe SSD feels fast load times are sub-second in most modern titles, but the drive is not user-replaceable without opening the chassis, which Razer seals fairly tightly. If you think you'll need more space down the line, you'll have to rely on external Thunderbolt 5 storage, which the laptop supports but adds cost and another device to manage. Connectivity is where the Blade 18 shines for people with a desktop-style rig in mind. Thunderbolt 5 and Thunderbolt 4 ports mean you can daisy-chain a 4K monitor, an external GPU, if you ever need more GPU headroom, and high-speed storage without reaching for a dock. HDMI 2.1 also lets you plug straight into a TV for couch gaming. The Wi-Fi 7 module delivers excellent latency for online play, but you'll only see its benefits if your router supports the new standard. For most users, a solid Wi-Fi 6E network will feel just as snappy. Audio isn't a primary buying factor for most gamers, yet Razer equipped the laptop with a 6-speaker THX spatial audio system. In a quiet apartment, the speakers provide an immersive soundstage that makes you feel like you're in the middle of a battle. The volume can get surprisingly loud, but the bass is still limited by the chassis size, so serious audiophiles will probably still want headphones or a dedicated sound system. So, who should buy this? If you're a professional creator who needs a single device that can handle AAA gaming, 4K video editing, AI model training, and you travel frequently for work or tournaments, the Blade 18 offers a compelling all-in-one solution. The high-refresh display options, massive RAM, and top-tier GPU make it a legit desktop replacement that fits in a backpack provided you don't mind the fan noise and the weight. It's close to 7 pounds. It also makes sense for streamers who want to run a game, a capture card, and a recording suite simultaneously without a separate PC. Who should skip it? If your primary use case is casual gaming at 1080p, you'll be paying a premium for capabilities you'll never fully exploit. The same applies to students or office workers who need a laptop for spreadsheets and occasional gaming. A more modest Razer Blade 15 or even a non-gaming Ultrabook would give you similar battery life and a lighter chassis for a fraction of the cost. Also, if you're sensitive,